What's happening, guys? It's Curtis here from the Social Work Race. You know, we have these conversations for all those who are on the front line of social services, on the back line, those of us who are family practitioners, health workers, nurses, but primarily in the social care field. This is a really good platform for you to resource from by learning from the experience of others. And it's also my breakdown on my perceptions of society as a social worker and the work as a social worker, to reflect on how we do what we do and why we do it, and the pros and cons, the strengths, the weaknesses, all of that. This is a platform, whether you are a student, whether you're a ASYE or qualified, seasoned, senior social worker, this is still a platform for you. We are all learning all the time. So welcome to the Social Work Race. Please share, please subscribe, click any buttons that are relevant. It will help the channel and it will help others too. Now, this is a topic I haven't prepared for as I normally would. But it's on my heart, and I need to do these topics as they come. I've entitled this one Hoodwinked. This one is on my heart, people. It's on my heart. I've called it Hoodwinked for a good reason. But let me define the term. We're going to flow into a story. And I'm going to talk about a key issue that I've seen. I think I'm still seeing, to be honest. I can't say seen. I've seen and seeing in my professional experience, both as a social worker and previously as a youth offending service worker, practitioner. It's no longer worker, it's practitioner now. The origin of the word hoodwinked. Here we go. This is going to be interesting. Hoodwink today, or to wink rather, means today to close one eye briefly. Yeah, when you wink, you close one eye briefly. But during the 1500s, it meant to shut both eyes firmly. So, for example, a highwayman who would place a hood over the victim's eyes, effectively to close their eyes, was said to hoodwink. You get that? To hoodwink is prey. However, over time, hoodwink has come to mean to dupe someone, to deceive someone, right? So that's it right there. That opens up the topic real nice, because what we're about to go into is really quite heavy on my heart. But the question is, what happens when you hoodwink someone? Here's a definition. To hoodwink someone means to trick or mislead them. Beware, for example, of fake ATM machines that try to hoodwink you into giving over your bank card and your code, only to keep them both to steal all of your money. So when you're hoodwinked, you're going to lose something, right? But you're also going to be deceived. There's something or someone is presenting something to you to not let you see what's really going on. That's what happens. And so I came across a story of this 5-year-old boy who was, and it's a recent story, it's in the last 2 weeks. So this is, I think, 27th of October. Young boy, he looks about 5. They haven't given his age in this article. And the murderers are his parents. It's not clear, but I'm not sure if it's the dad is the biological parent, but in any case, he's about 5 years old. And reports around mum and dad being coercive and boisterous. Yeah. This is in the assessment process, right? And this is during their intervention stage as well, after the assessment. They have a history of this, right? But they were really kind of torturing this child and abusing this child in real strange ways, similar ways to kind of Victoria Columbier, right? but I think maybe through his diet, it looks like it's taken place. So, a child that age is not really going to be able to articulate what they're going through, and that's really our job to search that out, right? That's our job. Going further into the story, the child was killed. And it looks like primarily through the mum, interestingly. And the judge is asking questions in this trial, and I think it's still going on. I don't think they've been sentenced yet. The thing that stood out was the child had bruises on their back. Now, we're not health practitioners by any means, so we're not going to know what abuse looks like all the time. But all we need as social workers is a suspicion, and we have to take it further from there. So when there's a child, what do we do? Now this is the point. The point isn't the fact that they messed up or the social worker didn't see it. I'm not going to let me take that back, because I don't know everything that the social worker saw. But you could tell through the answers here that there was a little bit of passing the buck. Well, one worker told me that she saw some bruises on their back. She mentioned it. It looks like the social worker didn't follow it up. Listen, this is not the issue today. As sad as this story is, there is enough history here to be concerned. Remember, we've entitled this Hoodwinked, right? When I read through this article, and I tell you, this is something to look out for. When I read through this article, it looks like, wow, how can I word this? There are things that are in plain sight that can be removed from your sight because of similarities and values. There's a few studies out there that talk about it, how you've got in-groups and out-groups. So, in psychology, there's in-groups and out-groups, how we get difference in society. And this is how you get discrimination. Firstly, prejudice, then discrimination. So prejudice is the belief system, the education, the theory, the notion. And then discrimination is how you behave after that. And you have something called in-groups and out-groups. In-groups are people who have shared values or similarities. And classically in the UK, we have an issue around race, okay? So being someone born in the 70s, in the mid 70s, there weren't that many mixed race people. So it was predominantly black and white, and so we were a minority. We were the out group, and so prejudice and then discrimination would have taken place because we were a minority. And in any society you go in, it could be religious, it could be the color of your skin, your eyes, and for example, in Rwanda with the genocide there, where a group of men went in and decided to create division in the country. One of the methods they used was just to create a level of discrimination by facial features. This was in the 1800s, in the 1900s. And they would say, well, if your nose is this shape or your jaw is this shape, then you are scum. You are not to be trusted. Remembering that the two tribes live together in peace, but someone has learned how to create a level of dissension. And I'm bringing that up to say that in-groups and out-groups can be created quite easily. Now, if you're in the in-group, you can overlook things because you have shared similarities, shared values. Your image is the same as my image. And just on that alone, especially if the person who you are investigating is trying to deceive you, they can often use the similarities to hoodwink you. Now, sometimes it's easy to happen. Listen, it's happened to me. When I reflect, I'm like, wow, hold on a minute. I think now there was nothing to be of concern, luckily. But what if there was? Because in this case, a child died. But looking back, I can remember that. Oh, hold on a minute. I feel like similarity was used to hide or to just go through the assessment in a way that suits them. This is deep. I see this. And this is what I'm convinced by, because the fact is that there is a major disparity in sentencing between black and white children in the UK. And this is something that is being addressed, but it's difficult to address because you're dealing with the whole country. And I think that, for example, a judge will look at a young child, can I say a white child, and see their son or their grandson or their granddaughter. And so sentencing will be different. You could be hoodwinked through language, association, and because discrimination and prejudice walk hand in hand, one usually comes before the other. You can see the point here that this topic is about how people are easily affected by commonality. And whilst that is great for community, when it comes to assessing a family at risk, you have to be very self-aware that you are not being hoodwinked. So you could enter a family home and they are very welcoming, to probably hide. That happens sometimes. They'll talk about the football team or where you grew up. It's similar to where you grew up, same age, you look like my daughter. All of that. Smiles. Make yourself at home. You're welcome. Call you by your first name. Over familiar, which I don't mind. To be calling me by my first name, not at all. But these are methods that can be used by some parents when they're trying to hide. Now, if there are any parents listening, this is not about us going in and thinking that every parent's guilty. It's for us to reflect as professionals on whether we are self-aware about the impact of other people's behavior on our professional practice. And when I read through this article, I think that there was a level of hoodwinking by the parents. And this happened with the baby P case. Maybe not on similarity, maybe, I'm not sure. But it rings for me that we can be manipulated by the service users sometimes. And that's one thing in itself, because that's what they would do for their own reasons. And if you listen to a previous podcast, you will hear that people sometimes find social workers scary because because of their past experiences. But when there are signs that a child may be abused, did you not go deep enough because you didn't want to upset someone who was just like you? Did you find it difficult to see past the similarity when you're probably working with a child that looks exactly like your own? And I would say, no matter how many years experience we have, and this is the problem even for judges who are at the height of not being affected by what they see, they are still affected by what they see. They have to make difficult decisions every day throughout the day on people's lives, and they even have training on it. I'm speaking for all judges, but I know more about the magistrate judges, right? Or magistrates, should I say. They have a lot of experience in this, and they still fall by it. Because when you have similarity, you have complex decisions that are difficult to make because you're looking at yourself. No matter how clever we think we are, it can happen to us. Here's a couple of tips for you if you are in a situation where you look back and you recognize it for yourself, or you want to get ready for the future, for your future assessments. Yeah. And I think that, let's be clear about this. I think that social workers working in child protection with families who, at first, they usually will have a choice as to whether they want to be worked with. And if they say no, they will shut the door, because they could be abusing a child, but they could be trying to disguise a fact. It's difficult for us to go in and work this out, because we've got to build relationships and have a look at the child and make judgments. So, particularly in child protection, it's difficult. It's never easy. But one thing, there are some things you should always do. And one of those things is you should always see a child alone. And if you can't see that child alone, you need to insist that they see a health worker to be assessed, who can actually assess if there is abuse. If there is no compliance from the parents, then you need to refer to your manager urgently that you have serious concerns, if you have them. But don't think just because you're from the same culture, the same background, you have similarities, that surely it couldn't be them. That would be a mistake. That's an encouragement for all professionals to just look beyond themselves and make sure that they're doing their job. And as I say that, I want to just remind any listener that that's not easy, but that's what needs to be done. And I hope you learned something from today, because I'm learning something from today, that I can never be too comfortable with what I'm seeing. I can never be too familiar and allow that to distract me from asking the right questions. I can't do that. I hope this helped, and I would encourage you in your professional practice as practitioners of all sorts, to do your best. The things you probably are. Look after yourself. Please share. Please subscribe. Let others know what was said today. And if you have any ideas, send it through. Take care.